we set it for trial or what are we doing?
Yeah, we're gonna enter a plea. The prosecutors made this offer to dismiss count one and have my client plead to count two, the unlawful use of a license plate. My client's willing to accept that, and he understands what's involved and the fact that he gives up his right to a trial, entering a plea.
All right, so Alex, raise your right hand.
All right.
You swear or affirm any testimony you give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yep.
All right, and you're charged with illegal use of a plate and no insurance. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The prosecutors agreed to dismiss the insurance charge if you enter a plea to the plate charge. Is that your understanding?
Yep.
All right, that's specifically displayed a plate that was not issued for that vehicle, contrary to Michigan law. You understand that?
Yes.
All right. And if you enter a plea today, you'd be giving up a number of rights. You have the right, first and foremost, to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. The right to have your guilt proven beyond a reasonable doubt. You understand if you enter a plea, you're giving up those rights.
Yes.
You have the right to have a trial. At a trial, that could be held in front of myself, the referee, in front of a judge, or in front of a jury. At a trial, you could present evidence on your own behalf. You could question any evidence presented against you. You could testify yourself if you wished, or remain silent. Not every silence used against you. You understand you're giving up the right to a trial?
Yes.
All right. And has anybody promised you anything or threatened you or told you you had any other rights other than what we've gone over here on the record?
No.
All right, let's tell me what happened then that led to the charge that you were displaying an improper plate.
Well, I didn't at the time. I didn't have my I didn't have insurance or anything set up for driving. But it was the morning I left. My mom had went to work, and I had woken up a little bit late, and I needed to get to school because I have missed a lot of missed days. So I have to make sure I don't miss any. Otherwise, I wouldn't get credits for my school year. So I was driving to school, and then on my way back, I got pulled over for the bad plate, for the improper plate.
All right, you agree that that plate wasn't registered to that vehicle?
Yeah, it was not. No.
All right, Mr. Walker, does that satisfy the elements of the offense?
It does.
Mr. Janice?
It does.
All right, you raise your hand, your mom?
Yeah,
All right, ma'am, do you agree with Alex admitting his responsibility for violation of the plate law?
yes,
All right. With that, counsel, if I comply to the court rule?
You have.
Yes, you have.
All right, plea would be accepted. Mr. Walburn, you're not requesting any supervision, just fines and costs and be done with it?
I'm not. This is just a traffic offense. I'm fine with the court impose whatever fine they deem fit and move on with this.
Mr. Janice, I assume you're okay with that?
Yes.
All right. Just one question then from is everything going all right with Alex at home at this time?
yeah. We just had a hard time making sure that he had a way to school because he goes to the Christian school busing and I have to work.
Okay. I guess the reason for me asking a question is a lot of times when juveniles commit offenses, they end up on probation for a period of time. That's not the recommendation here today. However, if you indicated that you felt that that would be helpful in dealing with Alex, I might reconsider. But if everything's going all right with them, then the request is just to impose the mandatory financial obligations and be done with it. So you're okay with that?
Yeah,
All right.
he has a curfew with his license, which is 10.
Okay.
He's the level of license he's on right now. He has to be home by 10.
All right. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay, at this time then, the sole disposition in this would be financial obligations, a $25 crime victim assessment, $50 misdemeanor fine, $10 misdemeanor fee, $10 fine, which is 10% of the possible allowed, which is 100, and a $50 attorney fees, total of $135. How long do you need to pay that?
how long do you need to pay that, Alex?
Probably like 2 weeks. I could get the money and then send it wherever I need to send it.
I'll give you till April 30th.
All right, April 30th.
All right. Okay.
All righty.
Should be all set.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, you bet.
Hello?
All right. So,
Hello.
yeah, we'll take up file 2022-96, matter of Aaliyah. She is here on Zoom with her mother, and Mr. Estes, I guess, is on here as well. Without video, but this is a date and time set for a pre-trial in this matter. Mr. Woder, anything to place on the record at this time?
I think that we're asking the pre-trial be adjourned. Ms. Longoria indicated the juvenile is in all sorts of services down in Texas. She's going to try to get a little bit more information on that. We would like to review that information to see what services are available before we discuss any kind of plea resolution. I don't know if Texas may have totally different services. They may be better. They may be more comprehensive. We'd like more information.
All right, Ms. Longoria, you okay with that?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
All right, so the pre-trial in this matter will be adjourned then to allow Ms. Longoria to get some information about what services you get in Texas and get that to Mr. Walburn to be reviewed prior to resolving the adjudication phase in this matter. So you get a notice in the mail when you need to reappear in court. Brandy, Ms. Estes, you'll need to be in touch with Ms. Longoria about what's going on with Aaliyah there in Texas. Give her all the information you can on that, okay?
2011-50755, Tyler
Yes, Your Honor.
Smith and Jessica Beck, both are here. Ms. Beck with counsel, Mr. Sweeting's here on her behalf, and this was the date and time set for a show cause that was filed by Mr. Sweeting alleging violation of the parenting time order. We did have a hearing in the meantime, and I thought the issues had been resolved. Mr. Sweeting wanted to keep this on the calendar just in case there were problems. I guess, have there been problems, or is everything working smoothly?
I think things have gone okay with the parenting time since the last hearing. I still think my client's entitled to a makeup, and I would suggest on a Sunday. But frankly, if Mr. Plus did in fact have transmission issues, as he claimed, you can simply give him a chance to value of the proof of same, like a receipt for getting it repaired or something along those lines.
And what was the date you alleged parenting time was missed? I'm sorry.
February 18. I don't think anybody denies it was missed. It's just a matter of why.
All right.
I've
And
provided a report with the emails from him to her leading up to that kind of show a little bit of animosity there, and that's why I'm a little curious as to the actual reason.
all right. And Mr. Plus, the reason parenting time was missed that day?
I did end up having car issues that day, and I took care of it myself.
What was the car issue?
I kept getting stuck at first. Gear transmission issues.
You fixed it?
I changed the filter and redid the oil in it. It's kind of working, but I have a new vehicle now.
So you don't have any shop receipt or anything, or any parts?
No, sir.
receipts or anything like that to provide?
No, sir.
All right. So you fixed it on your own by changing a filter? Is there a transmission filter of some sort?
Tranny filter, yeah.
Okay. Tranny filter and the fluid too, or what?
Yeah.
And you replaced both of those yourself?
Yes, sir.
All right. But then you got rid of the vehicle?
Oh, I still have the vehicle. I just purchased another one.
Oh, you bought new. All right. So I guess you would have receipts for the transmission filter and the transmission fluid, right? Or do you just keep that lying around?
I can look for it. I might have tossed it already.
Oh, okay. All right. What was the duration of the parenting time that was missed that day, Mr. Sweeting?
Was it for 2 hours? It was a 2-hour one.
And then parenting time is occurring consistent with the court order from that point forward?
Yeah, you now have it each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Supervised the woman that lives with my client.
Yeah, okay.
So we could just tack on a couple hours to one of those or what have you.
So 10 AM to 6 PM, all right. You just want to do 10 AM to 8 PM then, one of the Saturdays?
That's okay with me, yes.
All right, you want to do that, is that, that's each Saturday, so you want to do that, this coming Saturday?
Sure, yes.
All right, does that work for you,
Yes.
Matt?
Yes,
All right, so that'll be the, let's see, 13th, 24th, 25th. Make up 2 hours, 10 A to 8 P. So is that, one where you're gonna meet then in Fremont or in, what was the other one, Montague, I think? Whitehall?
White Cloud?
I think they're doing something different, Mike. My client's whispering in my ear, so maybe both of them can tell you what they're doing, because I'm clueless.
So they're not meeting in the two separate places or?
We have
What do you-
been meeting at my parents' because I work some of the weekends.
All right,
Visiting time happens, so drop off has been happening at my parents' house in Hesperia.
all right, as long as you're both happy with that, that's fine. It'll just be at 8 o'clock this Saturday, all right?
Okay.
And then the other thing would be attorney's fees. It's cost my client $400 to do this hearing, file the motion. I'd ask for at least a portion of that, if not all of it.
Mr. Plus?
I can do half of that.
All right, over $200 in attorney fees,
Just send it to my office.
as requested. To be paid direct. And, okay, all right, should be all set then.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
a matter of, Vanessa Morales and Rosa Diaz. And this is the date and time set for a post-termination review hearing. And, an initial review. I would note that Ms. Barco is here on behalf of the children. Mr. Salasina is here on behalf of the department. And we'll proceed. Ms. King has appeared as well, the mother of both children, although her parental rights have been terminated. Well, we're doing the matter via Zoom and YouTube. Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
No,
Alright.
Your Honor.
Salasina, how do you want to begin?
If I could, Your Honor, I'd like to take some testimony from Ms. Stephanie Smoose.
All right, ma'am, do you swear or affirm any testimony you give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
And
I do.
who's your employer?
Newaygo County Department of Health and Human Services.
And what do you do for them?
I'm a foster care worker.
And during the past reporting period, have you had at least monthly face-to-face visitations with Vanessa and Rosa?
Yes, I have.
And where are those children currently placed?
They are currently placed with a relative caregiver, their aunt Elizabeth.
Are there any concerns about the children's current placement?
They're not.
Is that placement providing the children with extracurricular or enrichment activities that would meet the reasonable prudent parenting standard?
They are.
Could you provide some examples of that for the court?
Yes, absolutely. Vanessa and Rosie both hang out with friends outside of school. Vanessa just finished up volleyball. She was playing volleyball, and they've gone bowling with their aunt. I believe Rosie is officially signed up for soccer this coming spring, and they, as mentioned, they hang out with friends. They go to different groups. Vanessa is in an after-school program as well, and I believe Rosie has stated that she would like to join that as well, but she is not at the age yet that she can join that.
Okay. Have there been any physical or mental health concerns for either child during the past reporting period?
Yes, there are some mental health concerns for Vanessa. She has been depressed and has high anxiety. She was taken to Havenwick Hospital for treatment services. She had suicidal ideation and was self-harming. She was there for about 10 days, and recently she wasn't self-harming, but recently I received a message yesterday on 3/21 stating that she had self-harmed again.
Have there been any educational concerns for either child during the past reporting period?
There have not.
What services has each child received during the past reporting period?
Vanessa has received counseling. She is currently seeing a counselor in Ludington. She is getting services through CMH as well. She is scheduled to complete a psych eval and hopefully get a new counselor. I know she's not very happy with the counselor she's currently with. She does talk to some counselors at school as well. She went into inpatient treatment at Havenwick. And then Rosie is still on the wait list for counseling services as well. I did call for an update today on where she is, and they did not provide that information yet to the department.
Okay. What recommendations do you have for the children's case going forward?
The recommendations is that Vanessa remain state wards placed under the care and supervision of Nuevo County Department of Health and Human Services. The permanency goal remain adoption, and this case be pursuant to court rule.
Okay. So the current permanency planning goal is adoption.
Yes.
Do you believe that that remains an appropriate permanency planning goal?
Yes.
Why?
Due to Miss Kane's rights being terminated, the girls were placed with her sister, and the girls really enjoy living with their aunt. She's providing the girls with all of their needs, supporting them, and the girls have stated that they would like to be adopted by their aunt.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Smoose. I have no further questions for you.
Ms. Barco, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Salcina, do you have any other evidence?
Yes, Your Honor. For my next witness, I'd like to call Ms. Brittany Presley.
All right, ma'am, do you swear or affirm any testimony you give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And who's your employer, Ms. Presley?
Eagle Village.
And what do you do for them?
I am an adoption worker.
And how are you involved in the case presently before the court?
I am the adoption worker for Vanessa and Rosa.
And during the past reporting period, what progress has been made toward that permanency planning goal of adoption for those girls?
The adoption and foster care case conference between Eagle Village and Nuevo County occurred 1/11 of this year. Adoption orientation with the family occurred 1/27 of this year. The intent to adopt statement was signed 1/27 of this year. An alternative care provider was identified on 1/27 of this year. Adoption assistant rate determination worksheet was provided on 1/27 of this year. The adoption application was completed on 1/27 of this year. The adoption assistant intent statement was completed on 1/27 of this year. Mayor registration with the foster parent hold was completed on 2/3 of this year. Child adoption assessment was completed on 2/22 of this year. Fingerprints were scheduled and completed on 2/17 of this year, and then were submitted to DCWL on 3/17 of this year, and personal references were sent out on 2/16 of this year.
All right. Are there what are the current barriers to achieving the permanency planning goal of adoption for these children?
The current barriers are receiving fingerprints back, and we will need the fingerprints back in order to complete the family adoption assessment, sending and receiving medical subsidy, receiving medical statements, applying for MCI consent, and then filing the petition as well.
All right. How soon do you think the permanency planning goal of adoption could be achieved?
July of this year.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations for this case going forward?
Just that the adoption process continue.
Thank you, Ms. Presley. I have no further questions.
Ms. Barco, any questions? She appears to be frozen.
I apologize.
Sorry, do you have any questions for Ms. Presley?
I do not, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Salasino, anything else?
No additional evidence, Your Honor.
Marco, any evidence?
No.
Did report on the child or children?
Yes. So I spoke to Vanessa's aunt. I was a little worried about making face-to-face contact with her after I received the report about all of her mental health struggles in the last reporting period. I didn't want to, I don't know, for lack of a better word, kind of freak her out and put her even more on edge. So I spoke to her aunt about how she's been since she's been out of the psychiatric care. She is still struggling, I think. She's reporting that her medicine is not working as well as it did in the hospital. So I think they're working on adjusting that. She is attending school. She did finish the volleyball season. She is supposed to participate in like an after school program, but she hasn't really been doing that since she was in the hospital. Rosa is in 4th grade and doing well. The caregiver did report she has some anger issues that they're trying to kind of learn how to deal with. And I reached out to Ms. Smooth just a few minutes before the hearing, and I think maybe we should try to go through someone other than CMH to try and get them into counseling sooner, even if it's like a virtual option that's not local, because I think they really need it.
Anything else for the record at this time?
No, Your Honor.
I'll accept the report and recommendations. Both girls will remain wards of the court, referred to the Department for Care, Placement, and Supervision and Eagle Village for adoption services. Permanency planning goal is adoption. That appears to be appropriate. Placement appears to be appropriate. And the children do have access to programs and experiences that qualify under the reasonable, prudent parenting standard. The department should continue to work toward addressing the needs of the children, mental health needs and otherwise. And the matter will be further reviewed on June 14th, 2023 at a post-termination review and permanency planning hearing. Mr. Salasino is here on behalf of the department. Ms. Longoria is here on behalf of the child, and we'll proceed. We're doing the matter via Zoom and YouTube Live. Any objections?
No objection.
Objections.
All right, Mr. Salasino, how do you want to begin?
If I could, Your Honor, I'd like to start with some testimony from Ms. Margaret McClintock.
All right, ma'am, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give in this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, let's see.
Sorry, I was on mute. I did say
Okay.
yes.
And who's your employer?
Bethany Christian Services.
And what do you do for them?
I'm a foster care case manager.
And how are you involved
I
in
am
the case?
Aiden's foster care case manager.
And where is Aiden currently placed?
Aiden is currently placed with a licensed foster home.
Are there any concerns about Aiden's current placement?
There have been some recent changes. There's no concerns about the placement in general, but there have been some changes with Aiden's status.
What are those changes?
Yesterday, Aiden had a difficult time getting to school with foster mom. She was able finally to get him in the car into school. And I believe Aiden had a difficult time at school, and they had called foster mom to come and get him. He was out of control with his body. He tends to flail when he becomes out of control. These behaviors have become escalated, especially over the last month. Continuing to get worse. And ultimately, he was taken to Zeeland Community Hospital to the emergency room for an evaluation. He is there currently. And the latest update I have is that he is waiting for a psychiatric virtual consult with a psychiatrist at Helen DeVos regarding his medications, possibly changing his medications. They are looking for a bed for him for an inpatient facility, although one has not been found yet. And we are hopeful in preserving this placement for Aiden because he has been doing very well there.
Okay. Is Aiden's placement providing him with extracurricular or enrichment activities that would meet the reasonable prudent parenting standard?
Yes, they are.
Could you provide examples of those for the court?
Yes, Aiden has been attending wrestling classes with the biological kids in the home, as well as swimming lessons, open swim at the aquatic center. He goes on trips with them and participates with get-togethers with relatives.
Okay. Have you had at least monthly face-to-face contact with Aiden?
Yes.
Okay. With respect to his education, have there been any concerns about his education during the past reporting period?
Academically, no. He did switch schools when he switched placements, so he continues to be in 4th grade. His IEP transferred, and they're willing and able to provide academic and behavioral supports to him. As far as behaviorally in the school, he has had some escalated behaviors.
Okay. You've mentioned some mental health concerns, or other than the ones you've already mentioned, are there any mental or physical health concerns for Aiden?
He has reported some new mental health concerns that I had not heard before since going into Zealand Hospital, including hearing voices in his head that tell him to do things, which is concerning. There are no physical health concerns for Aiden.
Okay. What services has Aiden received during the past reporting period?
Aiden has been going to a new therapist at Winning at Home Therapy in, I believe it's Zealand. That therapist reports that he's been opening up to her about things from his biological family, as well as some of the foster homes he's lived in.
Okay. Are there any other services other than the therapy service that Aiden's receiving?
He's also receiving psychiatric services from Dr. Dobius at Health West in Muskegon. And we are in the process of trying to move his services down to CMH in Holland, which is closer to where his current placement is. So we're in the process of changing everything to CMH down there.
Okay. What's Aiden's current permanency planning goal?
It's adoption.
Do you believe that remains an appropriate permanency planning goal for Aiden?
Yes.
Why?
Aiden isn't of an adoptable age. Parental rights have already been terminated, and it's in the best interest of him to have a safe and loving and consistent home.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations for this case going forward?
Yes. Recommendations that he remain committed to MCI and a permanent ward of the state of Michigan under the care of DHS and its contracted service providers, that he remains in out-of-home placement in his licensed foster home, that all parties continue to comply and benefit from the parent agency treatment plan, and that his goal remain adoption.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. McClement. I have no further questions for you.
Ms. Longoria, any questions?
Yes, briefly. So I had received an email prior to Aiden going into the hospital from the foster parents indicating their intent to have him moved while they love him, that they had some concerns. And I know that there was some hope that they would reconsider now that he's getting some additional services, and if he's able to become stabilized. Have they indicated that they're willing to either continue to be support people or to have him back in the home?
That is a conversation my supervisor, Devin Strong, has had with them yesterday and today. And that is why I said we are hopeful to preserve this placement as of today. Foster mom said they're really working on just coming around their children. They're all pretty heartbroken about what's going on with Aiden, as they all love him. And so it is a possibility that we're going to preserve this placement.
All right, good. That's why I asked that, because that email was, I know they were very regretful to say that, and that there were hopes that with the additional services they might reconsider. So I was hoping you would have that conversation. So that's good to know. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
All right, Mr. Salasine, any other evidence?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to take some additional testimony from Ms. Tiffany Miller.
All right, ma'am, do you swear or affirm any testimony you given this cause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes. And who's your employer, Ms. Miller?
Eagle Village.
And what do you do for them?
I'm an adoption worker.
And how are you involved in the case?
I'm the assigned adoption worker for Aiden.
Okay. During the past reporting period, what progress has been made toward the permanency planning goal of adoption for Aiden?
The progress that's been made has been, we did receive a denial from MCI on the previous sorry, it was a denial approval from MCI on the previous family who was interested in adopting, which was a home that Aiden was removed from. And then his current placement had signed an intent to adopt. He was photo listed on Mare and then removed from photo listing when his current placement signed that intent. The current placement has also signed in the adoption assistance intent statement and completed adoption orientation.
Okay. What are the current barriers to achieving the permanency planning goal of adoption for Aiden?
The current barriers are fingerprints for the adoptive parents, completing the family assessments, applying and receiving approval of medical and adoption subsidy, and then collecting all of the documents needed to write those assessments, including personal and professional references and medical statements, and then applying for consent and receiving approval of that before filing a petition with the court.
Okay. How soon do you think the permanency planning goal of adoption could be achieved?
The projected date for adoption in my report is July of 2023, depending on if we are able to preserve this placement and how things go, that could change.
Okay. Do you have any recommendations for this case going forward?
My recommendation would be that adoption planning continue for Aiden.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Miller. I have no further questions.
Ms. Longoria, do you have any questions for Ms. Miller?
Yes, would another barrier be some of Aiden's behaviors and needs that have to be met by professionals?
I believe so, yes, on that probably will weigh on the adoptive parent's decision and how quickly they want to move with the adoption.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions.
All right. Anything else for the record, Mr. Salasina?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Longoria, do you have a report on the child?
Yes, he was doing quite well in the home and then as indicated, it's begun to isolate. He had a longer honeymoon period, so to speak here. The foster parents here were very nurturing and very good with dealing with his behaviors, but his behaviors continued to escalate. They're trying to figure out why through, all these assessments and stuff. And, so some of the concerns is, and he's bringing up some of his past trauma as well. And so don't know if it's because of him bringing up that past trauma, it's making those behaviors come, or if it's because he's afraid to be attached because he's lost his mother, he lost his father, he lost a foster family that he was with for several years. And albeit they weren't appropriate, so to speak, but yet he still had gotten some attachments to them. So it may be for fear of that, so that there's some things that they have to try and figure out what it is. And then his latest disclosures about the voices and pretty concerning and really almost like a split personality type thing, the way it was described to me in his, from his disclosures, that perhaps this step that he's going to have will help with a diagnosis so that they might be able to find some sort of a medication that will help him to be able to control those behaviors some more. So I'm hopeful that with the treatment and now that they have had the opportunity to speak with the foster parents too, and that they're not completely opposed to, not having, they have been very supportive and appear to still be somewhat supportive. So we're hoping that if they see improvement, that they will be willing to continue that placement.
All right, thank you. Anything else for the record at this time?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right. This time then I'll accept the recommendations and report. Report of the court referred to the Department for Care Placement and Supervision and Eagle Village for Adoption Services. It does appear that Aiden has access to programs and experiences that qualify under the reasonable prudent parenting standard. That his placement is appropriate. Hopefully, like Ms. Longoria said, it can be maintained. The permanency planning goal is adoption that appears to be appropriate and progress is being made toward that goal as testified to by Ms. Miller. The department is providing services and programs for Aiden that are reasonable efforts to help facilitate his well-being as well as move toward the permanency planning goal of adoption. And the matter will be reviewed again on September 13th, 2023 at 2 p.m. There being nothing further, we're adjourned.